Everyone should experience a safe and meaningful work life. Healthy workplaces promote mental and physical health and broader wellbeing, improving the quality of life of employees and their families. The trucking industry faces some unique challenges in mental health and broader health and wellbeing. Work factors including shift work, remote and isolated work, contract work, financial pressure, fatigue and road trauma are all workplace psychosocial risks. These are critical for the industry to address. This session will highlight some of the amazing work being done in the industry, leading the way to better mental and physical wellbeing. Our first speaker this morning is Sally Glover, Communications Manager at Healthy Heads in Trucks and Sheds, a new charitable not-for-profit foundation established by industry for industry. Sally will offer an overview of the current state of mental health and wellbeing in the industry and tell us more about Healthy Heads in Trucks and Sheds. Thanks, Sally.
Healthy Heads within trucks and sheds could be a very handy tool, particularly because we do long hours and we spend a lot of time on our own. This may be a way for us to have a bit of an outlet and help us communicate, because most drivers are men, unfortunately, and we don't communicate. We're just not one of our things. But this may become a pretty handy tool for us to just a way to express ourselves a bit more emotionally, which we don't tend to do.
Hi, I'm Sally Glover from Healthy Heads in Trucks and Sheds. For those of you joining who haven't heard of Healthy Heads, we're a charitable non-for-profit foundation established as an industry-for-industry solution to challenges around mental health and physical well-being in the road transport, warehousing and logistics sector. Healthy Heads launched in August and is open to all of industry regardless of size or scale. Like our industry, mental health has no borders. So thank you very much to ATA who have asked me to present the current state of mental health in the transport and logistics sector. Before I do, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we all meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. If anything touched on in today's session brings up tough emotions or concern, please feel confident that you can reach out to someone for support, or you can contact Beyond Blue or Lifeline. Now, looking at industry statistics relating to mental health and physical wellbeing. We commonly hear in Australia that 1 in 5 people suffer from a mental health issue. However, now that is actually closer to 1 in 3. However, in the road transport, postal and logistics sector, it's in fact closer to 1 in 2. Now, close to 40% of those in our industry who suffer from a mental health issue say that work caused or exacerbated it. This is not overly surprising when we look at the significant mental health risk factors our industry faces. Some of those being long hours, shift work, social isolation, fatigue, and many more. Now, when we look at the leading cause of death in our sector, heart attacks are number 1, heart disease 2, and number 3, suicide. So this shows us that it's equally as important to consider poor physical health and mental health when we look at improving outcomes for our workforce. In fact, mental health has equally been consistent as one of the highest disability claims in the sector. Post-traumatic stress is a significant factor, with over 13% of heavy vehicle drivers being clinically diagnosed with depression. Now, in Australia, we have a total heavy vehicle workforce population of 200,000 people, which means that it's close to a group of 30,000 people who have clinically diagnosed depression. While this is quite frightening, it's actually not all bad news, because for those in the transport and logistics sector who have invested in mental health, PwC estimate that for every $1 spent has generated $2.80 in return in healthier, longer serving employees, reduced sick leave and improved productivity. The challenge being that this is typically at the big end of town, where there is money and resources to implement programs, and it's not across the tail end of the sector. So Superfriend put together a report on thriving workplaces. Now, the 2020 report showed that of 19 industries measured against their thriving workplace index, transport, postal and warehousing ranked 19th, with the index score falling from 59.3 in 2018 to 58.9 in 2019, the lowest of any industry. More workers said that they experienced stigma around mental health, increasing by 3.9%. Now, Superfriend's report found that workers suggested that the biggest barrier to taking action was lack of appropriate skills among managers. Nationally, 50.6% of workers who have had a mental health condition, as mentioned, said that work caused or worsened it. And only 1 in 3 workers believed that their workplace was taking action to improve mental health and well-being, and increasingly saw that cost was the major barrier to this. Now, as I touched on, there are a number of factors within the industry that contribute to both poor mental health outcomes and poor physical health outcomes. So, as mentioned, long hours, shift work, fatigue, contract work, isolation, and social disconnection. What we have here is a mental health framework. So we see the risk factors, but also importantly, the things that we can do to begin to make a difference. So the number one being leadership, all the way down to increasing awareness. So as we saw in the Superfriend report, people said that stigma around mental health had actually increased between 2018 and 19. So something that is so important is for us to increase awareness, and also awareness around the support that you can receive. Similarly, these were the steps to taking actions that Superfriend identified. So again, largely linking back to leadership and actively providing professional development opportunities in the space of mental health. Now, bringing all of this together, Healthy Heads has been built on 3 key pillars. So number 1 being training, an increase in the number of people trained in mental health at transport and logistics facilities. 2, standardization of policies and regulations at transport and logistics facilities. And finally, the 3rd being wellness, so helping the individual be healthier from a diet and mental health perspective. To bring all of this together, and I know it is a lot to take in, there is a significant opportunity for us to move away from a traditional focus being in the past, companies' initiatives being reactive to individual cases and company-specific circumstances. But now it is recognised that by coordinating an umbrella organisation that addresses the industry-wide risk factors nationwide, we can create structural changes. So this is something that Healthy Heads is working toward. Thank you everyone for joining, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and if you need help, it is always there, and it is always important to start a conversation. You do not need to be an expert. We can all join in this conversation around our mental health and our well-being. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Some really important insights there, and we look forward to seeing the work that Healthy Heads in Trucks and Sheds does in the future. Our next speaker will talk about a program called HeadFit, Business Fit. This is an initiative by the Victorian Transport Association, and today our presenter is Peter Anderson, Chief Executive Officer of the Victorian Transport Association. Thank you, Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter Anderson, the CEO of the Victorian Transport Association. For many years, the VTA has been committed to assisting transport businesses better manage their greatest resource, their people. A major element of this work is by raising awareness and acting upon mental health and well-being. It can be challenging for any workplace to understand the problem, how to assist, and what ongoing actions are required to minimise future issues. Mental health and well-being is a major issue in the Australian road transport logistics sector, with 1 in 2 transport workers having been touched by direct experience. It's been reported that the transport, post and warehousing industries rank lowest for mentally healthy workplaces out of 19 other industries, and with only 37% of the industry taking action to improve outcomes. The awareness, experience and actions of these issues needs to change, and the VTA is committed to addressing the inherent shortfalls through its HeadFit Business Fit program. We'd like to acknowledge the support of the HeadFit Business Fit program through the Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative and sponsored by the Heavy Vehicle National Regulator and the Federal Government. We commend the many initiatives now taking place in relation to mental health and wellbeing, and the VTA is confident that the HeadFit Business Fit program will make a real difference for those organisations which become involved in Victoria. The HeadFit Business Fit program is focused upon implementing an integrated cultural change management approach to mental health and wellbeing in transport organisations throughout Victoria. The HeadFit Business Fit program is based on best practice and involves an integrated change management approach using a promotion, protection and support model. We'll be able to bring greater awareness and action to addressing mental health issues in the workplace. The VTA will lead, manage and facilitate the stakeholder engagement, ensuring that understanding the issues comes first. It is then about organisations making a cultural change in how they manage mental health and wellbeing. The HeadFit Business Fit program is designed to create a positive workplace environment in employer companies to assess existing capacity and provide operational recommendations in relation to building the organisational cultures, developing positive mental health leadership, introducing specific systems and processes, developing the connection and engagement, and delivering ongoing individual support in transport logistics organisations. Organisations are at different levels of awareness, understanding and commitment to dealing with mental health and wellbeing and suicide in the workplace. They are also overwhelmed when endeavouring to navigate the resources and support network environment. This is where the VTA, through the HeadFit Business Fit program, will facilitate the process by engaging and guiding the organisation by providing the assistance of a professional service provider. Using the program's 5-phase process, we'll be able to deliver and measure the outcomes and benefits for each individual company. Creating the cultural change within businesses will initiate the awareness and appetite to bring about the integration of the support mechanisms and awareness needed to better inform, educate and support. The expected program outcomes include raised mental health and wellbeing awareness across the industry, drive cultural change within which supports mental health, deliver improved business benefits, and improved and sustainable workplace systems. The Victorian Transport Association is excited to be able to bring a new awareness to our industry, and we're committed and passionate in ensuring that our people remain focused, productive and supported within our workplace. We thank the initiatives of the NHVR through the Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative 2020 program and the support they provide. We will soon launch the program with more details becoming available in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Peter, for that great overview of the HeadFit Business Fit program. Our next speaker is Gary Mann to introduce Linda McDonald from the Queensland Trucking Association to talk about their Driving Better Health program. Thanks, Gary.
The Queensland Trucking Association is very aware of the impacts of health and wellbeing on our industry workforce, in particular professional heavy vehicle truck drivers. A safe driver needs to be healthy and fit enough to anticipate things like driving distances, reaction times. In the case of long haul transport, they need to be thinking about fatigue a lot more perhaps than they might have been in the urban environment, because there's not as many stops during your day. They are longer distances, and generally speaking, you're travelling on your own. So in those cases, you need to be healthy and fit enough to be able to sustain long periods of time, particularly in long distance working on your own. The Driving Better Health project needs to address these driver health conditions and help you in as many ways as it can to change your behaviours and look after your health, be responsive and responsible about your health, and that'll help you do your job a bit better, to be able to increase productivity. You'll feel a bit safer as you're in driving operations. It'll reduce absenteeism, and we would hope help with driver retention. The QTA are proud to lead this project, funded by the NHVR Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative, and it'll directly improve the health and safety of our industry. It'll also help very much the individual, and will help companies better manage their people in getting about and getting the job done.
Commencing in 2021, the QTA is delivering a new health and wellbeing program for the road transport industry, Driving Better Health. The Driving Better Health project is funded through the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator's 2020 Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative, supported by the federal government. The Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative program aims to support projects that deliver tangible improvements in heavy vehicle safety. The QTA is delivering the project, partnering with the Heart of Australia, who will complete the health and wellbeing assessments. The effects of poor health and wellbeing for road transport operators are significant. Numerous studies show there is a correlation between an increased risk of vehicle incidents and driver health and wellbeing. Common wellness problems in the road freight transport industry are obesity, sleep apnea, diabetes, cardiovascular disorders, and poor mental health. The significance of this issue was noted is a key area of action in the Queensland Heavy Vehicle Safety Action Plan 2019 to 2021. From an industry perspective, the Queensland Trucking Association is very aware of the impacts of health and wellbeing on our workforce. We have regularly led and supported initiatives aimed at directly improving driver health outcomes. The Driving Better Health project aims to support our workforce in accessing health assessments, specifically by improving the access to services and offering on-site or depot visits where possible, and being flexible around our delivery timing of these assessments to allow for shift changes. The project will also raise awareness of heart and related health issues, as well as promoting practical small steps towards a large change in overall lifestyle choices. The free on-site health assessments will address key health conditions, including nutrition, movement and fitness, psychological health, sleep, alcohol and smoking, blood pressure testing, body composition and respiratory function testing, diabetes risk, liver and kidney function. Valued at $165 per person, this is a great opportunity for industry to access these free and confidential health assessments. The steps to follow are simple. When registering, you'll receive an online questionnaire. Then on the day of the health assessments at the depot that's local to you, you will meet with the nurse who will undertake some assessments, including a finger prick and blood tests. Finally, a comprehensive report will be sent to you. This will explain your health results and recommend some things to consider to improve your health and well-being. The Driving Better Health Convoy will be visiting 10 locations, including Sydney and Melbourne, and will deliver 400 health assessments to industry. It's easy to get involved in this project. Simply visit qta.com.au/projects, follow the links and express your interest at a location that's near you. We hope to see you there.
Thanks for that great insight into the Driving Better Health program. It's going to offer some fantastic results for industry. I'd now like to introduce Louise Bellato, who's going to talk about working for a healthier tomorrow. Louise is the Executive Officer of the Northern Territory Road Transport Association, and this program is also being run in conjunction with the Western Roads Federation. Louise, outside of her Executive Officer role with the NTRTA, also runs her own injury management and psychology practice. Louise is a strong advocate for health and wellbeing in the road transport sector. Thanks, Louise.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, everyone. I'm Louise Bellato, the Executive Officer of the NT Road Transport Association, and I'd like to introduce you to a joint initiative that the Northern Territory Road Transport Association and Western Roads Federation have received funding for through the Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative, which is administered by the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator. Our project is called Working for a Healthier Tomorrow, and what we are looking at is a way to upskill our road transport operators, our truck drivers, who are very often first responders at the scene of motor vehicle accidents, road crashes, and particularly those that are working in remote Australia, and where the time that it takes for a police, fire, emergency services to arrive at the scene of the accident may actually be hours rather than minutes, which is usually the case in a metropolitan or an urban area. So much of what we know about the subject of truck drivers as first responders is anecdotal, and we've heard many stories over the years about our truck drivers who have been first on the scene and have had to administer first aid and then deal with emergency services for extended periods, and also have had to then manage the aftermath of those road accidents where at times there have been fatalities or have been horrific injuries that they've had to deal with. One of the things we also know is that in terms of mental health and well-being, resiliency can be built up when we feel skilled and equipped to deal with a situation. And whilst first aid training may address some of the things that you're likely to see at a road accident or a road trauma, they don't necessarily teach us those critical skills that we would most benefit from in the first 5 minutes if there is someone who potentially is bleeding out, for example. So what we are looking to do in this project, and we've got 4 locations that we'll be delivering the Stop the Bleed training in, and the Stop the Bleed training for our truck drivers as first responders is a tailored training solution to provide very specific and practical skills to our road transport operators, and to give them confidence that they know exactly what they need to do and what they need to carry, whether it's a tourniquet or packing material, which they might need if there's someone that is bleeding profusely. But the benefits are that the med response training goes in a different direction to what your regular St. John's first aid training does. But the intention is to be able to allow our truck drivers who are first on the scene to be confident in what they can do, and then to reduce the risk. That's our long-term intention, is if the industry is upskilled, to be able to reduce the risk of truck drivers developing their own trauma responses as a consequence of having to manage the aftermath of being a first responder, but not being sufficiently well trained to do that work. Other things that truck drivers are required to do is to maintain safety at the scene, often communicate with police, fire and emergency services about locations, and if they're on remote or unsealed road networks, it can often be quite complicated to get the emergency services to know exactly where they are located, so providing GPS coordinates and things like that. So their roles are quite diverse, but unfortunately it's also the fact that on many occasions a truck driver who is a first responder is on the way either to work to deliver whatever they're taking, their freight, or they're returning back to their depot. And so it might be, quite a considerable amount of time before they get to stop work and debrief about what has actually occurred on the road themselves, and that can compound things. So the mid-response first responder training is intended to be able to upskill people about ways to manage their own stress in the aftermath of being a first responder, without assuming that they might be on the side of the road for a couple of hours managing someone's trauma and then go along their journey and just good to go. So this course is acknowledging that there are occupational hazards that potentially from an industry point of view and from employers' perspectives aren't well considered, because they're random, because they don't run a particular course. There are some truck drivers who have gone a lifetime without being first on the scene at a fatality or a serious motor vehicle accident, and yet there are others who we speak to who have been at numerous, all that lucky or unlucky, they've been in the right place at the right time and then had to continue to do their day job, which is being a road transport operator delivering freight. So our intention through the pilots is to be able to determine what works well, where the gaps may continue to be, and then to be able to increase the number of training programs that do get rolled out. The Stop the Bleed, as I said, is a very particular type of training that we see could really benefit the nation in the direction that we're setting towards zero 2050. That would really speak to managing roadside trauma from a truck driver's perspective very differently.
Thanks, Louise, for giving us such great insight into yet another industry initiative that will make a real difference. I'd like to thank all of our speakers today. It was a fantastic mix of initiatives that we've heard about, and I look forward to seeing the results of all these programs in the future. Again, thanks everybody for contributing.